I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Hello and welcome to Dragonheart, the first of a while. I'm your host today, Bill Long. Joining me is R. Neil Williams, Mark Griffiths, and Laszlo the Cat. And possibly Chay a little bit later, but we'll see if he can make it on. So we're going to start off by talking about the Southend game. Guys, it was a cold one, that wasn't it?
Cold. Yeah.
I'll
say, I was really annoyed because it was finally cold enough to have Bovril. Because as you know, I have very strict criteria about Bovril. You got to have it in a football ground. It's got to be absolutely freezing. But I didn't get a chance to go down and get some Bovril, so I was a bit disappointed in myself, to be honest. There.
Yeah, it's going to be the coldest game this season, I think, and it was bitter. You know, with snowing before the game and during the game, and a bit of a cold day and a bit of a cold game, really, wasn't it? Wasn't a lot to be excited about, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just as much a measure of how good of a side Southend are, and the conditions are always a little bit of a leveler. But you've got to give them credit. You know, they're pushing for the playoffs. They're no chumps, are they, Mark?
Well, they certainly aren't, which was why I did have a sort of sinking feeling beforehand. We worked so hard to get that game on, and I couldn't help thinking, so we don't have something ironic going on where they then win it, having put so much effort in. Because I mean, fair play, the efforts of the staff were astounding, weren't they? Really, to get that, I didn't think it was possible to get the game on.
No, well, it's almost something of a bit of a football tradition, isn't it? Getting the fans and every sort of bit of the parts of the staff to come on and help clear up. But, you know, to see Phil Parkinson and Sean Harvey and Fleur Robinson all mucking in as well was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the efforts of the ground staff to keep it on, fair dues, that's impressive, and it's saved the club a bit of a headache with fixture congestion, doesn't it, Neil?
Yeah, definitely so. It's the last thing we want is to have a cancelled game. You know, we wanted to go get the game on, and as we did, we won 3 points, which is all we could ask for at the end of the day. It wasn't a great game to watch. We had we had few chances, restricted Southend to very little chances, to be honest. Although they had a lot of possession, they didn't create a lot in front of our goal, and Leighton had one of his quietest games of the season, I just said.
And I think
absolutely. Sorry.
Go on, Bill, sorry.
Well, no, absolutely. It's quite funny that my mum, who I usually go with, was sat next to me, and she was really nervous. She came out and she's like, "Oh my God, I thought we were gonna lose that." I was, "Why were you so calm?" And I don't know why. Like I'm usually quite jittery at the football, but I just felt like they just didn't trouble us. I think as I commentate more and more, Mark, and maybe this is like the effect that you have on me, is I'm starting to look at the game more and more as what it is, rather than getting too emotionally invested. And when you break that down, like you say, Neil, like Leighton didn't have to do anything, did he really?
No, he had maybe one easy save to make during the whole 90 minutes. I mean, they were great keeping possession of the ball, Southend were, but they weren't hurting us. They were just passing across the back. You know, whatever came in, our defence dealt with really well. As we all saw, Tunnicliffe got injured through a clash of heads again, and I thought our defence played really well, and to say they didn't create a lot in front of goal. Yes, we won it, but some referees may not have given that goal for Wrexham, but a goal's a goal and 3 points are 3 points. So I've watched it a few times and I still can't decide what happened.
Well, so I was going to just say quick fire. If gun to your head, Neil, foul or no foul?
Foul.
Mark?
Foul.
No. At the time, and cheers, Mark. At the time, at the game, I thought foul. Having watched it, I would probably still say foul, but I don't think it's as bad of a decision as maybe some of the Southend fans are making out. That's a tough one to call for the referee. I think it's a bit of a 60-40 because the contact is really minimal in my eyes. I don't think he's really... It's a foul because he's touched the keeper, but it's not as if he's gone in with his elbow or his shoulder and really properly nudged him. He's just sort of like patted it down, isn't he, really?
I mean, my arguments as an ex-goalkeeper, an ex-failed goalkeeper, admittedly, but still, is that, people talk about goalkeepers being overprotected. I don't really think that's the case. There can be, don't get me wrong, but I felt that, if you're trying to catch the ball over your head, the slightest contact on your arm is a foul because it will make you drop the ball. I mean, imagine it. You've got your arms up above your head, so the only points of contact on the ball are your hands either side. And if somebody knocks your arm only a little bit, once your arm shifts out of position by an inch or two, that ball's gone. And if you look at the keeper, just follow the ball into his hands, and you see his hands coming together like he's about to clap because his arm's been nudged. I don't think it's more than a nudge, I accept, but that's enough to push it past his hand and into the net. And for me, it's not a case of intent. It's a case of he's interfered with the goalkeeper, and it's a foul. But other things aren't. Like, for example, I'm not just going to blindly say all challenges in the keeper are fouls. That Eastleigh playoff, when we have the goal disallowed when Sean Pearson jumps with the keeper, he knocks him on the top of the head. That's not affecting his ability to hang on to the ball. He hasn't hit him hard enough to do that. That's not a foul. So I'm not trying to say if you touch the keeper, it's a foul. I'm just saying that I think if you knock a keeper's arms at full extension, I think that's a foul because, he dropped it because of contact.
Well, welcome for joining us, Chay, for the audio listeners who are just, we won't be seeing Chay dropping into the Zoom call. Gun to your head, foul or no foul?
Foul.
Southend goal. Yeah.
Foul. Clear foul. That he's not dropping that, but it's not great goalkeeping. I've got to say, it's not the best goalkeeping. He should maybe be doing better, but Mullin pushes his arm. It's quite clear, and that's enough to put the goalkeeper off. For me, it's a foul, and if it was given against Wrexham, I'd be pretty furious.
I mean, Chay, as an MMA man, am I right in saying that there are some places on the body you can hit which will get a drastic reaction, and others that will make no impact at all? And my argument is that knocking a keeper's outstretched arms, you don't have to knock it much for him to lose control of the ball. It's that sort of comparison. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, especially with an outstretched arm. He's not expecting someone to push his arm, is he, at all? How the hell are you meant to react to that? So it's got to be a world-class keeper that's going to react to that. And most referees would give that as a foul, in my opinion. It's not much contact, but it's enough for a foul.
In the commentary, I didn't get excited until I realised the ref was pointing towards the middle of the pitch. I thought, hang on, I think I said in the commentary, hang on, he has given it. I mean, I was shocked, I've got to be honest. But hey, not knocking it.
I'm not knocking it at all. It's got us 3 points in a very, very tough game in very, very tough conditions.
Yeah, I think it's one of those goals that none of us got excited about, did we?
No.
We didn't think it was a goal.
I mean, I wasn't in the commentary box, but I didn't really particularly get excited either. I thought it was going to be blown up for a foul, and then I think it was probably why the whole crowd was a bit subdued, because I think everyone was sort of expecting it to be called off, really. But 3 points is 3 points, and that comes in a really difficult period that we haven't really been able to cover because we've been Saturday, Tuesday, and it's not really given us a lot of time to do Dragonheart. How would you all rate the month of February out of 10?
10.
Yeah. Chay?
Let me refresh on the results. So
I'll go through. I've got them up here if you want.
Yeah,
so
go on, please.
Is 2-1 win at Altrincham, 3-1 loss at Sheffield United, 3-1 win at home to Wealdstone, 2-2 draw at home to Woking, 4-3 win away to Aldershot, 2-0 win at home to Scunthorpe, 3-1 win at home to Dorking, 2-1 win at home to Chesterfield. Now we had the 3 games in March.
Right, so I mean, I suppose if you do that as a period, then what are the 3 games in March? Then sorry, Mark. It's been such a long period. I've kind of like forgotten like how much of it's spanned really.
Yeah. So Maidenhead 2-2 away, then Dagenham 4-0 win away, and finally the 1-0 against Southend. So how many games is that? So give me a reaction, and I'll quickly count up those matches and see what the totals are.
I think for me, that's a fantastic period of games, and it feels like a lifetime ago since we played Sheffield United, but it wasn't even really, it was like a month ago, wasn't it, Chay?
Yeah, I'd give it, if it out of 10, I'd give it an 8.5, not quite a 10, because a 10 for me is when you win every single game, which is very hard to do. But, the results we didn't get out of in February were against good sides. So it's hard really to complain, and we're not getting smashed from pillar to post. We played some good sides and got at least a point out of a lot of teams. So nothing to complain about at all, really, is there?
As a bit of context, Notts County have dropped more points in their last 3 games than we have since the start of February.
Well, yeah, there you go then.
Basically, they won every other game in February, but still. I think it's crucial that we've got those games in hand, played and won as well. Yeah. I think that's really important, that we're able to cash in on those.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've all said it's at some point during either the commentary or Dragonheart before this huge period, one of us or all of us will have said, we'll know who's going to look to like they're going to win the title after this period. And I still don't think it's 100% clear because the margin's not quite big enough yet, but we're in pole position, Neil, aren't we?
Oh, definitely so. If you just said we're on the longest unbeaten run in history, I think, Mark, is that correct?
In the league, yeah.
Yeah. And to go throughout February with games Saturday, Tuesday, again without losing. Yes, there were some close games. Maidenhead, we should have won, but we know what happened there. And Woking were a very, very good team when they came to the racecourse. So I'm more than happy, as Mark said, we've won our games in hand, which has put the pressure on County. Not a lot of us would have expected that. Everybody said, you got games in hand, but games in hand are not points on the board. And to go out and win those games in hand and then go to Dagenham was my biggest fear on Tuesday, and they went there and smashed it and played absolutely excellent. So that's why I think as a team, they've done that far beyond what my expectation would have been for the beginning of the year with the number of games they've had to play.
Well, I think prior to those run of games, I think the pressure was on Notts County, not on us, not Notts County, and I now think the tables have turned. They're going to have to get results every game. That on the time of recording, they're playing Eastleigh in the next 45 minutes. If they don't get a result there, that just puts so much pressure on them every week then. So that means if we just carry on winning or avoid losing, it's just packed points on the board. It's just the gap's just going to get further and further if they're not on it all the time.
And role reversal on that, Chay. Even if they do win or get a point tonight, we're still top of the table, aren't we? It doesn't really matter because we'll be top of the table with a game in hand. So yeah, like Neil said, it's not points on the board having a game in hand, but it's less pressure, isn't it, Mark?
Exactly right. Those numbers, by the way, for us are 1-8, drawn 2 in the league and lost 1 to Sheffield United. So I mean, you can't argue with that, can you? Really, especially as you said, when there were extenuating circumstances around at least one of the draws, and the other one we were winning late on. Yeah, exactly. We just got to keep going, be relentless, and then every tiny slip up by Notts County will feel like a total disaster for them. It'll just leave them that bit further behind, the side that just can't stop winning. So we just got to keep that momentum up, haven't we? What do you think about the rotation of the squad? Because I mean, he's rested players on occasions. People, raised a few eyebrows, but you can't argue with the results, can you?
I think the squad. Sorry, go on, Chay. No, sorry.
Sorry. The squad depth we have is just insane. We've had Tom O'Connor, who's gone off injured. He was one of the top players in League One last season at times. We've replaced him with Andy Cannon, who was on the books for Championship club. Luke Young's had a break, and we've had Jordan Davis come back into the squad, and soon Tom O'Connor and Aaron Hayden are back to training apparently. So, we've rotated the centre halves and we're still getting success. This squad depth is just absolutely ridiculous, and in my opinion, is what's going to win us the title. That's what separates us and Notts County. I think Notts County's first 11 are as good, if not a little bit better. First 11 is good, if not a little bit better than Wrexham's, arguably. But we've just got such a crazy depth that they can't compete with it, in my opinion.
Especially when you look at the injuries we've had. I've just got it up now on the, that period of time. So it's 11 games. Well, we've missed Leighton for 1 game, Ford for 4, Hull Johnson for 10, Hosanna for 6, McFadden for 5, Hayden for all 11, Tunnicliffe for 4, O'Connell for 2, plus 1 game he was cup tied in, O'Connor for 8 of them, and Jordan Davis for 5 of them. I mean, that's a lot of injuries to have to deal with, and yet, like you say, that squad depth has meant that we've been able to cope with it.
It's obscene, isn't it, really, how good the squad is? I mean, November time, you probably could have been quite comfortably said what our first choice 11 was. I don't think I could pick what our strongest 11 is now, especially after adding Barnett and O'Connell to the squad.
Yeah.
I'd really struggle to pick a first 11 if everybody was fit and available.
Oh, I think I could, but it'd be the midfield that I'd struggle with the most.
And if I could throw a curveball in there, the current back three of Tozer, O'Connell and Tunnicliffe, 3 very, very solid Football League level centre-backs, look like a brilliant unit. They've played 3 games so far. We have not let a goal in with those 3 together. But Aaron Hayden. I mean, wow.
I personally think you put Aaron Hayden, if Aaron Hayden's fully fit, every player at their fittest, I think Aaron Hayden is one of the first names on the team sheet because of his goal threat as well as his defensive aerial threats as well.
I'm certainly not disagreeing with that, but my goodness, it's a good unit, the one we've got at the moment as well.
And then who do you drop for Aaron Hayden out of that back three though at the moment? Because you can't drop Tozer because of what he possesses.
Yeah,
I'm not. I think you're right because Hayden's goals just about tip it for us. But who do you replace? Because I can't choose between O'Connell and Tunnicliffe.
Yeah.
But what a great position to be in, isn't it, guys?
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. When was the last time we were able to bring on a like-for-like player or even a better player bring on as a sub, You mixed it up on Tuesday at Dagenham and it worked really well, and he started with the same 11 on Saturday, where I didn't think it did work as well. No. Whether Lee was tired, I don't know. But I think Barnett's been a class player coming on for us, you know. He's been a great winger there, and he'll take on the defence, and his balls in the box have been excellent.
Mm. I think the pitch played a part on Saturday as well, didn't it? Ball players like Lee and Cannon found it hard to get the ball moving, I thought, on there. I mean, that's not a criticism of the ground staff because they've done a phenomenal job, but inevitably that pitch was quite claggy and slow. Surely it has to be with the battering it's taken. So, and him being covered. And I think that was a big part of it. What did you think of... Well, Parkinson implied it, and Tozer outright said it, that the win on Southend was one of the very best performances of the season. How do you see that?
No.
I think that is the type of thing that maybe a squad that know how hard they've worked to get that result would be able to say. But in terms of being a fan and watching it, it wasn't better because how entertaining was that Dagenham game?
Oh, yeah. But I think they're right. Sorry.
I think when really good teams have their backs against the wall against, say, a good team like Southend, I remember a good few years ago when Liverpool won the league in, how many years ago was that? They played Aston Villa and they got battered throughout the 90th minute, but then came back and scored 2 in the last minute. And they mentioned that as their best performance of the season because they came back from a really tough game and ended up winning. And I think that's what great sides do when you're not playing at your best and you still win. Yeah. it's satisfying as a big result. As it was as satisfying, if not more satisfying than Dagenham for me.
Yeah, I think to get that result, and as Neil said, to do it in a way where, okay, we did not play our best football. Okay, the goal was very dubious, but we never, ever looked like letting a goal in. It's a massive 3-point stat, isn't it? Especially as it keeps us with that 4-point gap. It's a fantastic achievement, and especially because that was the 7th Saturday in a row where we played the Tuesday before. 7 weeks of a game two games every week, and maybe they look like they needed a bit of a rest, but they still dug deep and got the win first.
Yeah, I think. Go on, Neil.
I totally agree with you, Mark. It was a hard-fought dugout. They ground out the win on Saturday, and they worked very hard for it. They defended very well, and I think, as you say, the pitch maybe took a lot out of them because it was heavy and we couldn't play any pretty football on the pitch. But yeah, I mean, yes, the team played really well as a team, keeping Southend out. But as you said, Bill, it wasn't the prettiest performance for a fan to watch or us as commentating. But it is 3 points. It keeps us 4 points clear of Notts County, but I still wouldn't say it was our best performance of the season. Maybe where we've come back from a couple of goals down or a goal down and gone and won it, for me would be a far better performance. But it was a hard ground out win on Saturday. It really was.
And I would say as well, some people have maybe suggested that, we haven't been playing as well during this period. I wouldn't hold to that at all. But 10 league games in this period, 23 goals. I would say any team that's scoring an average of, and I'm no René Descartes, but I reckon 2.3 goals per game probably is playing pretty well.
Yeah, the bar's just been set that high, and the standards are so high, and I think there's an element of the tension that's involved with the current running, skews people's opinions a little bit. Yeah. I think at the moment as well, the atmosphere is affected by that tension. The game was a little bit on the quiet side, and it has been for a couple of the games during that period. I thought the Southend fans were absolutely fantastic, and what a fan base, and what they're going through at the moment is unthinkable. We know how that feels, but at the same time, what is that you're dangling there, Mark? I can't quite see it.
Well, for the audio listeners, don't be alarmed. That's my Southend scarf that I bought last week. The Shrimpers Trust, despite the fact that we're working so hard to make money for the club to keep its head above water, also have a bit of perspective about themselves, and so they made Southend United Ukraine joint scarf because they both had the same colours, and they were selling them off and giving all the money to charities to help Ukrainian the people in Ukraine. And so I got mine last week. I felt a little bit of guilt about the fact that I bought it 3 days before Wrexham played Southend, but nonetheless. And surprise, surprise, it's actually come signed by the manager and the coaching staff. So
fair play.
That's my artifact of Southend, not Ukraine. So there's no Oleg Blokhin autograph on there.
Yeah, so and good luck to Southend, especially if they're doing things like that in their hour of need. That's impressive, that to be able to raise money for charity when the club desperately needs a bit of cash as well. Fair play to them, and they held that banner up that thanked the Wrexham fans for their support. There was the chant. We don't need to get into the politics. I'm sure anybody with Google on their phone can have a quick look to see what's going on there. But good luck to Southend fans, and I hope they have a successful rest of the season. Just obviously not against us on Saturday. That's we wanted the 3 points, and then they can do as much damage as they want to the league from now on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, but going back to the atmosphere a little bit, like again, you guys are in the commentary box is a little bit different for you. I thought it was a bit flat, but I think people are really tense at the moment, and you can hear that from the comments in the stands. How does it come across to you guys?
I'll have to absent myself from this because I thought the atmosphere was fantastic on Saturday, to be honest.
Looking back,
sorry, go on, Chay.
Looking back, I think the Southend fans are making more noise than us.
Yeah, they definitely were. 100%.
I do think away fans should do, though.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if you've got a good away following, it's a lot easier to generate atmosphere, in my opinion. Away followers are usually people who are up for it, aren't they?
And they tend to go the kind of hardcore that are going that sort of distance in that weather are going to be the same people who go, for the most part, going to be the same people who go week in, week out to away games as well, aren't they? So they're going to know each other. They're going to know the chants. They're going to know. Wow, you know what I'm getting at, don't you?
Yeah, well, even Parky was there on Saturday when he trying to get the fans involved. He was there on the sidelines there trying to get the sound we were in, getting singing and getting the crowd behind the team, because the team needed to have fans behind them on Saturday just to get them over the line, I think.
I think it did pick up in the last 5-10 minutes, but I think before that it was a little bit flat at times. But people are tense. We're coming towards the closest we've ever been in the National League to going up, and it can't be underestimated how important that is to a lot of people.
Yeah. Totally agree.
I still reckon it was a cracking atmosphere, you people.
Maybe we're just spoilt now, Mark. For some good games.
I liked Barnett on his home debut doing the same as Neil mentioned about Parkinson. You see him running down the pitch, revving people up. Oh, that was great. That guy bought into things straight away, didn't he? Here's a quiz question. In these 11 games since the start of February, 2 players have started every game. Who are they?
February.
So again?
In February.
From the start of February to now.
Ah, right, okay.
2, and one of them was on the pitch for every single minute.
I think I've got it. But go on. Yeah, Tozer.
Tozer was on the pitch every single minute, and Mullin. Oh, wasn't that good a quiz question? Sorry. Well, did my best on it.
But Mullin was substituted a couple of times, so he wasn't on the pitch the whole time.
No, was. 2 of them started.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Tozer was on the pitch for every minute of them. But subs quite a lot. Yeah.
Here's a question for you then. I think Tozer has a shout to be player of the season. Does anyone else agree?
Yeah, 100%.
I think he won't get it because it's almost like player of the season, especially the fans' player of the season, is almost like I'm going to sound harsh saying this, it's almost like a popularity contest, isn't it? Not in a bad way, because if, let's say, Mullin wins it, he deserves to win it. But Tozer is he's like an 8 out of 10 every game, isn't he, basically? And he probably is a player of the season just because he's so reliable.
Yeah, I put Luke Young as well along there.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
go on. Mostly it's the strikers get the player of the season, don't they? Because of their prolific goal scoring. So, and that's what the fans like to see.
Except when you get relegated, the keeper wins it. Mark Morris winning it, you become bottom of the 4th division, and quite rightly. I mean, he was brilliant because goalies have so much more to do in those seasons, don't they? I think Tozer is. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit naive saying this, but I feel he's underrated by a lot of fans. I think they just assume that he's all right, and the centre backs who play other side of him get to go to the pitch a bit more, and that catches people's eyes. And I've often heard people sort of expressing doubts about Tozer, and I can't see that at all. For me, he's utterly rock solid. Like you said, I like that. He's a consistent sort of like 7, 8 out of 10 every single game. Quite apart from the long throws. And all right, I've heard people saying he lacks a bit of pace. I think he'd admit that, but he's very good. I think I've said before, he's very good when people run at him at siphoning him off to the side of the pitch and not letting him get past until supporters come back. He's a canny customer. Plus, I think having a bloke like him on the pitch, whether he wears the armband or not, who is constantly demanding high standards and holding people to those standards, that's what you need on the pitch. You need people who are not going to accept anything more than the best, and because that's how you get these sorts of runs when you need them, isn't it? Because he's there saying, "No, that's not good enough. Don't do that again," and just keeping everybody going. Tremendous signing, Tozer. Tremendous leader. Tremendous centre back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a bit of everything, isn't he? And that long throw is just such a big part of our identity, isn't it, and how we play. Tozer, he's really like the anchor of the first 11, isn't he? He's so important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
for me, Tozer's player of the season so far.
His use of the ball is so good as well. Yeah. And if you watch him, he is so relentlessly trying to play ambitious passes. Yeah. For a centre back, I want to say he risks possession a lot, but actually he reads situations well. He gets the wide players involved early. He doesn't tend to miss the mark. But he's a very front foot sort of player. I feel he's always looking to play those diagonals and get the ball forwards early and get us at the opposition as well. And in that sense, I agree, Chay. I think he sets that tone that we are relentless. We keep going forwards. We keep getting at teams. And so I think he fulfills an awful lot of roles like that.
Yeah, and I mean, even his ability to recycle the ball after the long throw-ins, he's always there for the second ball if it comes out. Because I think I've often said sort of Parkinson's a percentage manager, and I know you don't always quite agree, Mark, but that long throw opportunity, if it's thrown in at the angle that it comes at, it's more likely to come back to him or somebody who can recycle it back to him. And he's got such a good cross with both feet for a centre back. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. He can beat people, like you say, crossing with both feet. And I know it's an obvious thing to say, but they know he's there and he holds that wide position. So, if the throw comes back out, we pen them in, and the player on the edge of the area, Cannon did it a couple of times really well at the start of the match on Saturday, just knows he's there, just ping straight across. And it's an easy pass, but it's a pass that causes a major problem for the other side because they've evacuated that part of the pitch by then to defend the penalty area. And he's got space. He's often got an overload, a player with him. One person comes out to meet them. They can pass it round them. It's brilliantly fashioned, isn't it? Really, it's simple, but it's incredibly effective, and a lot of chances come from either the throw or what happens next.
Didn't he score the winning goal at Oldham? Was that from a throw-in and he stayed up there?
No, that was a corner, I want to say. It was a set piece.
Penalty, the winning goal, was it, at Oldham?
Yeah,
he was the
equaliser, wasn't he?
Yeah. Still late.
He's got a strike on him.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good player.
Any other year, he'd have been comfortably our player of the season, but we've just got such a deep squad that he'll probably go slightly unnoticed in those awards, only when he maybe shouldn't. I think we've sort of covered that period as much as we can. Any final thoughts on our February to March run, guys?
I think we're in a better position after it than before, and that's quite a compliment considering, like I said, all those 7 weeks of non-stop. It's quite something that they've got through it, like they did.
I've got one thing to say. It's not over yet, though. Notts County are very, very good, and we need to keep consistent. Yeah. And I must say, I watched Notts County against Dorking for the most part, and I looked at the highlights. They are a very, very good side. And I got to say, I think us and them, you could argue the two best sides that have ever been in the National League.
Yeah,
it's going to be absolutely criminal that one of these teams is going to be in the playoffs, and it'll be even more criminal if that team doesn't go up, regardless of who it is out of the two of us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Although I will say they didn't kill Dorking off till about 6-7 minutes left. Just putting it out there.
True, but I think
they still did it though, Mark, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Langstaff is some striker. He is some striker, and he's going to make a great addition to our squad next season.
That's right. If Dolby gets a knock, we need a fourth player, don't we?
Oh, right. Well, we're just going to take a quick break.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
So we've got a few important games coming up now, gents, haven't we? There's not a lot of matches left, especially home games. And one thing that I think is a bit of a worrying trend that I've started, and I'm sure you guys have started to notice it as well on on social media is the sort of rise in people asking for tickets, which is completely understandable, but particularly people potentially selling tickets beyond the asking price. Now, personally, I know there's for example, there's a thread on Red Passion where people offer their spare tickets out. I think for the most part, everybody's asking for face value. They just don't want a ticket to go to waste. But I did also notice a thread on Reddit recently where there was some, I find, unsavory comments about potentially taking money down to the racecourse and not offering large sums to people who've got tickets to try and buy their ticket off them. Now, that in itself is, like people can make their own decisions. If someone offered me £200 for my season ticket, I'd personally say no. But there's going to be some people out there who may be able to afford a season ticket at the start of the season, but might look at that and think, £200 over halfway to paying for my season ticket for next year. I'll take that. My main problem with that is that you start to create an economy for touts. So as soon as people catch wind that there is a market out there for people who will pay extortionate amounts of money, you're more likely to encourage people, be it locals or people not from the area or international or whatever it is, buying tickets solely for the purpose of selling them. It's really worrying because it's not just people online that I've seen this with. I'd heard a story, and I won't name people or where I heard it from, of someone who does buy tickets and sells them on for £50. Now that's over double what a ticket is worth. And I'm sure with the demand for tickets at the moment, that's someone who's local, who's doing this. They're probably making that money back, and so what? Even if they don't make the £50, they've got a ticket there. They can either go themselves or sell it for face value. It's a really low risk thing if you can get hold of one, but actually it deprives people of a ticket.
Is he a Wrexham fan as well, or are they Wrexham fans?
I don't know them personally. I've just heard this. The person who was offered the ticket is a Wrexham fan. I don't know whether this person is a Wrexham fan or not, but they are local. And Neil, you mentioned you see it on Facebook and stuff as well. It's
magnified because there's so many Americans coming over now for games.
Yeah,
and they've pre-booked their tickets for their flights in advance. And then they try and get tickets for the game after that. And there's like families upon families upon families in the next few weeks coming over to Wrexham wanting to have tickets for the game. There was a family of 6 looking for tickets for the Notts County game. And I think it's just going to grow and grow. And there's actually scams out there. You see it all the time on there. People post on where they don't even know the ground. They're offering tickets for parts of the ground that's not even there, I know some Americans have already got scammed and lost money when they thought they were buying a ticket for games,
Well, I can sort of relate to that. I was in Lisbon in November, and there was a Champions League game on, and usually Sporting Lisbon as a club are really easy to get tickets for, even for your bog standard Champions League game, but it was a little bit of an important one. And the website's all in Portuguese. I didn't know what was going on until I got there, and it was just sold to members, which was unprecedented because they usually always sell it to. It's always completely open. They got a massive stadium. They never really fill. I got convinced to part with some money. It wasn't a lot. It was about €50, which I was willing to. I realized there was a chance it was going to be a scam, but I was willing to part with that for the opportunity to maybe go to the game. But I feel like I didn't feel too bad about it because I knew that there was that risk involved. It was kind of like, yeah, okay, there's a chance that this person's having me on. But if you go onto a resale website, they're €200, €300. So I can part with €50 and it will be disappointing if I don't get a ticket, but at least it's not going to cost me €300 or whatever. This is really dangerous precedent. And I don't like the idea of people encouraging other people to take large sums of money to try and get tickets, because you could be taking advantage of a person or a family who really need that money and they don't want to miss out on the game. But that's a large sum to a lot of people in Wrexham, especially when the pound is so weak on the dollar at the moment, and that amount of money maybe isn't as much for an American who can afford to come over to Britain in the first place. Then, like you say, on the flip side, don't want people who are coming internationally or locally to be scammed, because that's not good for anybody involved, is it? And just a bit of a plea, really. Don't encourage people to buy tickets for extortionate monies. Don't buy tickets for extortionate money. And just if you fail to get a ticket, there are plenty of pubs in the local area that would absolutely welcome you with open arms. There are people out there who are genuine, who will possibly sell their ticket to you for face value, or if they've got a season ticket and they can't attend the game. I know of people who, Neil, you knew somebody who was offering a ticket out last week. People who are in the area just don't want their ticket to go to waste. So
yeah, that's true. What
be very, very, very careful, isn't it?
Go for face value, and if you really appreciate it, offer to buy him a few pints in the pub, or buy him a pie or something. But just make sure you're buying it for face value, or there are plenty of establishments that may or may not be showing the games in town as well. So that's another good way to soak up the atmosphere and plow money into the local economy.
And looks like the tickets are almost impossible to get hold of now. There's 6,500 to 7,000 season ticket holders. The ground only holds just under 10,000, depending on the safety arrangements. We've got 1,000 away fans allocated usually, depending on if that allocation's taken up. It doesn't leave that many tickets left to be sold. Me and Chay, we've got relatives and friends who've been going since 10, 15 years who just can't get a ticket. Mm-hmm. And if you're coming from America or anywhere else, even if it's just if you're just local and you've only just started getting involved, don't assume you can get a ticket, because they're in high demand at the moment. And because of that, the pubs that are in town are also full of diehard Wrexham fans who will be having just as much fun if we win and you're watching it in the pub with them.
I mean, it's got to be emphasised strongly that ticket touting is a crime. It's illegal. The club have been unequivocal in pointing that out. And, if you indulge in it, you're in danger not only of breaking the law and getting into trouble because of that, but you're also in danger of possibly losing the right to have tickets. So it's massively important that you don't ticket tout. But sadly, I mean, I think this goes beyond Wrexham. We live in a quite deregulated society where, people who have the means to try and make more money and possibly are not unscrupulous are given more scope to do so. And that's a societal problem. So the moment you get a situation like Wrexham, where suddenly demand outstrips supply, you're going to get unscrupulous people who try to profit one way or another. And you're quite right. Some people are not trying to profit from it. But yeah, I just hope, obviously, that there are ways that big clubs look to address this, and a lot of them are good. Some of them aren't. But I just, I think that hopefully we'll be able to maybe apply some of those measures. The only thing is that it's unrealistic to expect the clubs to do so in the short term, because we are scaling up so massively and so quickly. How on earth are they supposed to find time to bring in other measures? There are things like, a lot of Premier League teams will do their own resale, won't they? Where you can get the face value back of your tickets and they'll resell it through the club, which is obviously a good idea because they sell it at the same price. But, it doesn't sit well, does it really, the idea?
No one could have... I feel sorry for the club on this one, because no one could have anticipated the demand being this consistently high for every game, because even last year, a lot of the games were somewhere between 7,000 and 8,500, weren't they? It was only really towards the end of the season where it sold out every week. It wasn't impossible to get tickets last year, but consistently, week in, week out for this year, it has been a sellout. So, again, I can really genuinely sympathise if 6 months ago you bought flights to come to Wrexham for this really pivotal period of the season and you're now disappointed, or if you're a local who just loves Wrexham and is now disappointed. I get it, but it only harms us all long term if more and more people are buying memberships and season tickets to then resell their tickets for stupid amounts of money.
I actually to do an interesting thing where, because it can often be difficult to get tickets for Dutch games because of the security measures they have in place, caused historically by hooliganism. and they always used to do a thing where if you were foreign, you could circumvent all the security stuff because you're supposed to have ID cards and things to get into matches. You could circumvent that by buying actual holiday packages. Now, there's a bit of me doesn't like that. You see teams like Man City going with Liverpool going with Thomas Cook, and you think, this isn't going to be a bargain package. This is going to be a pay-to-nose package. But there's maybe something to be said if you're trying to cater for a big international following of maybe setting some things aside and maybe even looking to profit by having a deal with the Ramada or somebody, or who knows, Expedia. They've heard of us. Could you pull something through that? But I do think as well, it's not fair on the club to expect those sort of things because they're too busy just trying to deal with the fact that support is mushrooming. It's a bit ambitious maybe for me to float that sort of idea this early.
We've just got to be patient and wait for the cop.
Yeah,
once the cop's built, I think it's going to help a hell of a lot. I think the demand is going to be higher, but surely it's got a flat line at some point, and when we have the car, the tickets will just be easier to get, and that's just the best for everyone. But at this moment in time, we just got to be patient.
Yeah, there's a big concern at the moment as well for the last game of the season. If it goes to the last game of the season for the title to decide where we're at Torquay, where they've actually allowed season ticket holders at Torquay to buy 6 tickets each.
Ooh,
I know.
Oh.
And there's a big concern on the Wrexham fan site at the moment that there's going to be a lot of tickets being sold by Torquay fans. If there'll be a lot of fans going down to from Wrexham anyway, and they'll take their allocation. But there'll be, if it goes down to the last game, there's going to be a lot more fans wanting to go to that game, and there's going to be a lot of these tickets may be available through the Torquay fans who maybe have bought 6 tickets, thinking they can make a Bobbity out of this game. So that's a big concern for me at the moment.
Yeah, because if you're in the home end, there's an opportunity that it could kick off if you sat next to someone who is a Torquay fan and you celebrate a bit wildly or whatever.
Well, I can't imagine you being in the minority if they're going to buy 1 ticket for themselves and 5 tickets are going to sell for Wrexham fans.
Yeah, true.
So there's probably not many Torquay fans anyway. Let's be fair.
Well, the way the season's going, they might not want to go anyway.
Yeah.
Let's sort of lynch the team.
So that's a big concern for me at the end of the season.
Well, hopefully we've won the league by then.
That's what I'm hoping.
A big jolly, which I'd love for us. What I'd love us to do if we won the league by Torquay, we do the last game of the season in fancy dress because the last game of the EFL, everyone's in fancy dress. The last one in the National League should be in fancy dress too.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another aspect of it that I don't want to see happen really is any resentment towards international fans, because let's be honest, we wouldn't be in the position that we were in if there wasn't this international interest that we're getting. But if local people start to see elements of this and take exception to it, it would really be a shame to break up what has become being a very, very good feel-good factor thing at the moment. I mean, I can't see that happening anytime soon, but it's
happening already. It's happening already.
Well, yeah, it is slightly, I would say, to a degree, but I think most Wrexham fans, it's like anything, isn't it? There's always a minority of people who are a little bit willing to stick the knife in any aspect of society, but hopefully that's just kind of one of those things. Again, it comes back to the tension and the fact that we've got such an important run in, and home fans maybe feel a little bit, local fans feel a little bit entitled to be there. People who are traveling from abroad might feel a bit entitled because they've come from this sort of distance. It could be a recipe for disaster if people don't handle it in the right way, which I really don't want to see.
I totally agree.
I'm sure most people are, as you say, on the right side of this, and I think we just have to make sure that we all make it clear that we're an incredibly welcoming town and an incredibly welcoming club, and people who try to complain about it aren't representative of us. I think that's sort of the only reasonable stance we can have, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Like you spoke to that lovely family after the game, didn't you, Mark, on Saturday?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, American fans were there, a couple and their kids. The kids were waiting for autographs. And it was just, it was lovely. It's just brilliant when you know, whether you interact with people online or whether you actually meet people face to face. It's brilliant. Am I sad? I'm sad. You know that. I don't know why I asked the question, but am I sad because when I see messages like after a game, sort of people saying I had a great time, I want to message them and say, "Oh, you could have come and said hello to us." It's lovely. It's fantastic. It's such a treat to have this happening at our club. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's truly unique as well.
Every other club would love it, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
amazing.
And that's why there's a lot of fans who are giving us stick at this moment in time from other, and a lot of giving us support as well because they're jealous because what we've got is completely unique in world football.
It is.
Other than your big six Premier League sides or your Premier League sides in general, I've never seen such an interest from North America in a football side.
It's crazy, isn't it?
No, we must have one of the biggest growing fan bases in the football pyramid in the UK, apart from maybe the Premiership teams.
I'd say we're the fastest growing team in world football, to be honest, Neil. And I don't think that's an unfair statement to say, or big-headed. Just look at the percentage increase that we've had. It's in terms of gates, it's over 50. It's over double, nearly triple. You could feasibly say that we used to get average attendance of around 3,500, 4,000. We've nearly tripled our attendance on a regular basis. Our away attendances have become incredible. Although I would say that is mostly local and people that have just now taken a bit more of an interest. Our shirt sales are doubling, tripling, whatever it is. It's what other club can say that they've had that kind of exponential growth in the last 5-10 years?
Yeah, especially when you see we've got like Brazilian fan club now. We've got Colombian.
That's brilliant. I love that Brazilian commentary. Chay sent that to me a couple of weeks ago. It's ace that. I want to see more of that. People from other countries, like who speak other languages, I want to hear your commentary, definitely.
You should do that, shouldn't we? We should put an appeal out. Commentate on this goal in your language. That'd be beautiful.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
I can't help reflecting on the fact that I was writing the preview for the website of the Southend game, and I was saying how when we played Southend through the 80s, the smallest crowd, and this is all in the Football League, remember, was 935.
Wow. And
the biggest was something like 2011. And frankly, the only reason it was that big was because it was something like, I think it was the first home game of the season and we'd won our 2 away games previously. So there was an unusual amount of interest in us. So 2,000 people turned up at the first game of the season. I mean, and you think about it now, it's astonishing, isn't it?
But Mark, I don't think it's just the takeover. I think lower league football in general has got a lot more interest in it.
Yeah.
Compared to when I was young, not many people watch lower league football, but now I think post-pandemic, people are realizing, I'm really enjoying going to watch my local side. Look at Notts County's attendances. Look at York City, Southend,
Oldham's.
Yeah, the attendances are high across the board, and I think it's fantastic because for me, National League and Football League football is so much more entertaining. The title race in the National League is so much more thrilling than what the Premier League is this season, in my opinion.
Do you think, right, and maybe putting 2 and 2 together and making Apple, but that's algebra for you, do you think VAR has something to do with this?
Yeah.
Like I said, that goal against Southend, I'm commentating on it. I think it's a foul. I say it's a foul, but then instantly I see the referee and linesman not giving a foul, and I can then react to it. Whereas if that was happening in a Premier League game, there would be a 5-minute delay while everyone stands around scratching their backsides and picking their noses, and nobody knows what's going on. And I mean, I certainly... I'll pick a side when I'm watching a game on the telly, and I'll celebrate. Usually when Man United let a goal in, and I mean, quite frankly, I don't anymore when I watch it on TV because my immediate thought when the ball goes in is, "Oh, we'll have to see now." That's not really what sport's about, is it? That great climactic moment of, I've been waiting for this all my life. Oh, we'll have to wait and see now. That's not what sport's supposed to be. In the National League, it is. You hit the back of the net, you go nuts. No linesman, no flag. Yay, we scored.
Well, I remember on the flip side of that, during COVID, obviously all the Premier League games are on TV. Everyone during the lockdowns. I mean, me and Chay must have watched so much bloody football when it came back on. We watched every game that was physically possible, really, didn't we? And then the first live game back, it was almost weird that there wasn't going to be a VAR check every time a goal went in. It's a bit like, can we? Oh yeah, we can celebrate. Yeah.
They're conditioned. Yeah. Exactly.
I agree. And I think the big clubs. So the Premier League is so out of touch with the rest of the football pyramid and out of touch with working class people, where I think people think, you know what, I could actually, instead of going to watch Man United once this month, I could go watch my local side for all the fixtures for 2 months. You know what I mean? The local football is a lot more appealing to people because people haven't got as much money anymore as well, but still want to consume football.
Well, look at us, Chay. When there hasn't been a Wrexham fixture on a Saturday for whatever reason, we've gone to Bellevue Park to watch the Bellevue FC team, or you've gone up with your lads to watch Brickfield. You know, we would never have done that before COVID, would we?
No.
Never in a million years.
Exactly, yeah. And I tell you what, local football, including National League, with your local side, it's so much better to go watch that than the Premier League. And I've completely fallen out of love with the Premier League. It's not football anymore. I think VAR is rubbish. You know, you look at the Nick Pope situation on Sunday. It was a clear penalty. That was a clear penalty, and that wasn't given. You know, VAR was meant to make football bulletproof, but it's actually just made it even. It's made it worse, and I hope VAR doesn't creep down the lower leagues, in my opinion.
Well, I did see something the other day that they're talking about having a VAR light, aren't they? So that the lower leagues can have like a slightly lighter version of VAR. So it's not as many cameras, not as many different reasons that you can call it for. But it's like like when you've got a subscription package to something and there's like a gold and a silver tier that you can have less features with a silver tier, but you still sort of got it. Like, I think that there is talk that they're going to start offering that down the pyramid, which I absolutely hate the idea of because it's bad enough.
Good luck with that in the National League.
Yeah, don't give me a half version, especially in the National League. Like, could you imagine some of the decisions that would happen?
I like the idea of like a sort of cheap version of VAR for the lower divisions. Like the referee comes across the side of the pitch, but it's the screen's on wheels and there's two people pushing it really quickly from side to side, so he can't actually see it still. He's got to keep up with it and make the best guess he can. Just like one of those Stockley Park.
One of those old school. You'll know this being a teacher, Mark. Like the big CRT TVs on the wheels that when it was a snow day or a rainy day, it would just get wheeled into the classroom with a video recorder at the bottom.
I used to do that in Yale when I was a student there. They put on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The vice principal was obsessed with. And quite rightly, got me into it. It was beautiful, But that was great. You should pray for snow just so you can see the beast in the cave of Caradog, the holy hand grenade of Antioch. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. VAR, nah, I'm not into it. I think it's what you said there, Chay. The idea of it making the football bulletproof, because that's how the media pushed it really hard by saying that.
Yeah.
If they'd said it will make more decisions correct, we might have been a bit more forgiving of it. But instead, they I think, deliberately pushed the idea that there'll be no more controversy because then once it's brought in, you've got miles more controversy and the media can really go to town on it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, if I'm honest. I'm comfortable with the idea that referees are honest and they're making their own decisions and as best they can. Although, having said that, remember when Mullin had scored 2 penalties and then they handled the ball in the box? So they should have brought VAR in for that just to give us a chance to score the third one. Probably on that occasion. And the Sean Pearson foul on the goalie in the Eastleigh playoff, but nothing else.
Yeah. Nothing else.
Yeah.
No other controversial Mullin disallowed goals or anything like that could be mentioned previously in the podcast. Anyway. So that's the end of the show. One little thing that I do want to mention really quickly. Jay Bailey on Twitter, who's a regular Ask Wrexham commenter, has set up, or it's not just him. There's a big group of people that have set up a fundraiser for Welsh Women's Aid. We've kind of run over time today, so we will talk about it a little bit more because it is linked to the big women's game that's taking place next week, which we'll cover that as well. But please go and check out the hashtag AskWXM. Have a look at what's going on there. Donate if you can. It's a really, really good cause. It'd be fantastic if we can get as many people behind it. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, like and subscribe to everything. We're by Carrier Pigeon, Messenger Giraffe, every good platform that you can possibly get on. We have been Neil Williams, Chay Long, Mark Griffiths, and Bill Long.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.